Last year, I was invited out to LA to speak with 50 high-level leaders. Now, I was invited out to speak on a topic that I had become known for, the issue of trauma. And the night before, I was feeling extremely nervous, and it's not because I didn't know my content. As a licensed therapist and an emotional wellness coach who specializes in trauma with high-level leaders, I knew my content by heart. It was that I was bringing such vulnerability to a group that had appeared to be so invulnerable. I had heard from leaders over and over again, Andy, I don't have trauma. Nothing bad has really happened in my background. And anything that bad did happen, I just used to my advantage. So I took a risk. I pulled these leaders together into a circle, and I pulled up 2 chairs and had them face one another right in the middle. I asked for 2 volunteers. One gentleman came up, sat in the chair to my left. Another gentleman came up and sat in the chair facing him. Now, I had been watching this gentleman right here. His name was Alex all morning long. If there was an alpha of this leadership group, he was it. Strong, confident, courageous, highly successful, and every time I saw him, there were swarms of men and women around him trying to get a piece of why he did or how he did what he did. So I had these 2 leaders do something. They were going to hold out their hands one at a time to one another for 30 seconds straight while the other one sits there still. No talking, no laughing, maintaining eye contact, and noticing what was happening in their body. So the gentleman facing Alex, he went first. He put his hands out. 30 seconds went by. I look at Alex, and his face is stone cold. Like, oh gosh. This guy is the ultimate subscriber to that mindset that I had just talked about from leaders. So I said, okay, Alex, you're up. 5 seconds, 10 seconds, his hands drop, his eyes fill with tears, and he begins to cry. The room was silent. But I knew exactly what had happened because I had seen this happen over and over from leaders. I walked up to him, I bent down, and I said, Alex, it's really hard for you to let people in, isn't it? It's really hard for you to let them know that you need something. And he said, yeah, it's incredibly difficult. You see, this wasn't the first time that Alex had reached out. As a child, he reached out physically and metaphorically for love and encouragement, empowerment, soothing, a sense of identity, and what he got in return was abuse and trauma. His dad was a workaholic. He worked 80 hours a week. And when he was around, the only thing that he cared about was when Alex was performing. Sending this searing message into Alex's soul and mind that he was an asset to be leveraged. He wasn't a child or a human to be loved. You see, it was trauma in that moment that day that caused Alex to drop his hands. It was trauma that caused Alex to build this impenetrable wall of success and power and wealth and money so that people couldn't get close to him. It was power that caused him to go all the way up to CEO because at that point, no one could hurt him. But it was playing out in his life. He was becoming disconnected. He was becoming fragmented with himself, with others, and with his work. His marriage was holding on by a thread. His relationships with his children was the same thing that he had with his dad, constantly seeking their performance and not having real connection with them. You know, he lost connection with himself too. He didn't know what he felt. He lost connection with his purpose, and he lost connection with his meaning. And he became really fragmented with his work. He got disconnected from the work that he was doing because he was trying to prove his worth through the work that he was doing instead of knowing his worth and living out of that. He had become fragmented. You know what he did? He had a story of pain and trauma and brokenness. And instead of healing that, he just kept going to seek success and fame and relationships to somehow fill those holes, but it wasn't working. Alex had a ton of power. He had power to change the world. He was a leader. He couldn't help it. But he didn't have power to change the world for the better. As Richard Rohr states, If we do not transform our pain, we will most assuredly transmit it. Now, before I ever met Alex, I was on this quest, this mission to find out, what is that one thing that most fragments leaders? I had seen over and over leaders come to me, broken on the inside, things on their world starting to decay and implode, and I thought, man, what's going on? And then I found research that showed that 2.6% of entrepreneurs have 2.6 times the rate of mental health disorders than the general population. Twice the rate of depression, 3 times the rate of addiction, 6 times the rate of ADHD, and 11 times the rate of bipolar disorder. I was shocked. But I didn't stop there because I knew that was just fruit on a tree that had very deep roots going into the soil, and I wanted to dig deeper. And then it was there. That one thing, I found it. It permeated every single soul of these entrepreneurs and these leaders. It was trauma. Trauma made it so that Alex could not hold his hands out. It made it that he was fragmented from his story. Now you might be thinking, Andy, trauma's not that prevalent. Well, the largest study ever done about 2 years ago looked at 69,000 adults over 24 countries, and they actually found that the U.S. was ranked 3rd highest in traumatic exposure. 82.7% of adults in the U.S. have experienced trauma. 30.5% have experienced 4 or more. And when I started to dig into the research, I found that when childhood trauma was present, things like depression, ADHD, anxiety, suicide, divorce, burnout, those rates actually skyrocketed. Trauma was at the root of what was actually going on. Trauma is always about disconnection. It's disconnection from ourselves, it's disconnection from others, and it's disconnection from the work that we do. The Substance Abuse Mental Health Services Administration defines trauma as an event, a series of events, or a set of circumstances that we experience as both physically or emotionally harmful, and that have lasting impact on us emotionally, physically, relationally, occupationally, and spiritually. Trauma is always about disconnection. And I saw it in Alex, and I saw it in his life, and that's why I wanted to do this type of work with the leaders that I work with. Alex turned away from his story, and he couldn't heal his story. And therefore, he wasn't able to create the kind of future of purpose and meaning. He was just reliving the story of which he got. And I want to take you into your own story this morning. Some of you are leaders, some of you are not. I think everybody is a leader in some way. A father, a mother, a boss, a teacher. But the first step is to face our story. So what I want you to do is I want you to do something with me here in this room. I want you to notice in your body, where is that part of your story that has become fragmented? A long time ago, you pushed it down, you hid it, you packaged it away, and you've been running towards success and avoidance and fame and money and everything ever since. I want you to find that place right now. And I want you to notice in your body where that's located. And we're going to take 20 seconds. And I just want you to feel that, connect with that part. You don't need to go back to your past. Stay here with me. Put one foot in the past, one foot here, and just connect with the part of your story that feels broken. Notice what it feels like in your body. Okay, I want you to stand up with me. Everybody stand up out of their chairs. Whether you're here or you're watching this online, do it. I want you to envision your feet on the ground like a redwood tree with roots driving into the ground, anchoring you to the ground. I want you to envision your spine straight like steel. I want you to imagine your heart open and warm, and I want you to take a breath with me. I want you to envision yourself 30 years in the future. And if that's going to put some of you in the grave, just go 15, because I don't want anybody dying here. It's not helpful. 15 to 30 years in the future with wisdom and insight, empowerment, courage. looking back on life with a keen sense of understanding and wisdom. And I want you to notice what that feels like in your body. Take it in. I want you to turn around, and I actually want you to face your chair now. So turn yourself around, stay standing, face the chair that you were sitting in. And now what I want you to do is I want you to look at that person in that chair that's struggling or hurting, that has trauma or pain in their background. What is the one thing that you would want to tell them right here, right now, in this moment that they need to hear but they never did hear? From that place of courage and compassion and wisdom, what would you want to say to that part? I'm going to give you 20 seconds to say that in your head and your heart. I want you to sit down into those chairs now with me. And I want you, like water, going over your body, filling every space and every crevice of your soul and your identity. I want you to take in that message now for 20 seconds and just notice what it feels like to have that said to those spaces that have been hidden for a long time. Notice what it feels like to be loved, to be known, to be whole. Maybe for the first time, like Alex, this is the first time you're facing your story. Maybe for the first time, this is the time that you've actually looked back and said, wow, there's something there, and actually just stepped in and created a moment of healing because you spoke with compassion rather than criticism. You spoke with purpose rather than a performance-based identity, just like Alex did. Will you, like Alex, face your story so you can heal your story and so you can create the story you wanted? I started to do work with Alex for over a year. And I saw transformation. I saw that he found his sense of identity, his sense of worth, his sense of purpose, and he worked out of that rather than to try to achieve that. His relationship with his wife recovered and repaired. He had deep intimacy. He allowed other people to know him at levels that he had never even known before. And the favorite part is he could play with his kids. Because when trauma is present, we don't know how to play. He got to play with his kids and see the smiles on their face that he had never seen before. Alex was becoming whole. Will you, like Alex, face your story, heal your story, so that you can create a new story of purpose and meaning and power? Will you, like Alex, pursue whole? Because leaders have the power to change the world, but whole leaders have the power to change the world for the better. Thank you.